Gravedigger Queen here, and I have a tale for you tonight, and it is close to my heart. Traveling to different dimensions is quite a pain in the ass, and I do not like to do it, and I have some bad memories about it. But if you want to get somewhere lickety split, there is no substitute. Tonight's tale is Thank You for Never Giving Up on Me by Montsho Shelby. And so it was that Alfre found a way out. She wrote furiously with ink and pen. The words that oozed within her came from the loving care of someone who could find no other way out and needed someone to agree with her decision. The road that led her here was dark and rife with sorrow and pain. Everyone lived their lives to die, so it didn't matter when it happened. It had to happen now. It was the only way. In the darkened room of her study, amongst the toils of a lifetime of discipline and focus, tears streamed from her face. It had to happen. There was no other way. It had to happen. There was no other way. It had to happen. There was no other way. It was her mantra. It had to be. She couldn't risk hell for anything less than absolute certainty. She went into her drawer and retrieved her revolver, one she had never fired before. She put the weapon on the table and stared at it as if it were an entity capable of judgment. As she reached out and curled her fingers around the trigger, she put it down. It has to be done, she said, letting it echo through her head. With unsteady hands that barely would heed the contradictory commands her mind thought, she put the gun to her temple. She slowly squeezed the trigger. This was the only way. She fired. There was darkness, and Alfre had no way of knowing how long she lived in it. May have been a fraction of a second or 10,000 years. She opened her eyes in a place that seemed as if it had never known light. Shadows were its windows, darkness its joy. The walls were gray stone. She touched them just to feel if it were real. It held form, but it felt as if this place was as real as she conceived it to be. The moment she thought that there should be more, it was as if her mind made it true. She followed the light towards a stone portal and found sitting on a throne a winged giantess, a horned goddess. Her skin bare as if an amalgamation of humanity, but not necessarily of it. The woman of pale skin had leather wings on her back that enveloped her as absolutely as the darkness. Muscleless bones held them aloft, bones twisted into jagged spikes. Two crooked horns jutted out of her head, and her eye sockets were pits of darkness, while her eyes shined a deep white like beacons to shepherd wayward souls through the beyond, or perhaps to lead them crashing into the rocks. She didn't move when she saw Alfre approach, but her knowing eyes followed her in. Alfre only came to her knee. Her throne was stone and had a pentagram atop it as a centerpiece. Two wooden chairs sat across from the giant, demonic woman, which housed dry bones of corpses long past. They had been there so long, dust and cobwebs settled atop them as if markers of their age. Whatever conversation they may have been having came to its conclusion many years before. Alfre still didn't know what to think. There was no way back, only forward. Only this. She scanned the room like the investigator she was in her previous life. Each thing she gazed upon seemed of occult significance, as if in this place lie the answers to all the questions she had asked in life. Those bright white eyes followed her, and she noticed that the demonic creature's head even moved ever so slightly to follow her around the room, almost like a shopkeeper waiting to be addressed while a customer browsed their wares. After a time, when Alfre's fear of the bright white eyes eclipsed her curiosity, she spoke to the woman, who now slowly rubbed her legs together like a cricket. "Hello," Alfre said to her. The giant woman tilted her head down to the insignificant mortal, as if she barely could be bothered. The woman's lean, muscled arms gripped both sides of the crinkled spines that served as holds. She didn't answer because it seemed as if she was not asked a question, therefore had no time for trivial conversation. "Where are we?" asked Alfre. The woman spoke. Her voice was sorrow and pain, sin and fleeting sanity, deep but somehow dark. "Where your mind took you." "We are in limbo?" Alfre asked, having some measure of knowledge of the ways of the dark through a lifetime of study, yet little applied knowledge.
"In a way, we're in a nightmare, child."
"Can I will myself from this place?"
"Can you?"
the woman said with a smile that curved even more menacingly with the help of shadow.
"You are not as the others. You are not nearly as terrified as you should be,"
said the giantess. Alfre got the impression this entity was not in the business of asking questions, because in this place there was nothing that would give her cause to wonder. "I came here for a reason," Alfre said, and almost asked herself, as if she were having trouble remembering not only why she came, but who she was in that other world at all. "My sister. I came for her. She is a lost soul. I've come to find her." The demonic woman smiled again, even harder than she did before, as if this conversation was bringing her unexpected amusement.
"In your situation, your futile situation, it seems quite a lot like someone drowning, attempting to save someone who is drowning. You are beyond the capability of intervention."
"And yet you will help me?" Alfre asked, pleaded, and told with some measure of earnest conviction.
"I will,"
said the judge. "You strike me as a creature that hasn't done anything you've deemed interesting in a very long time. As if you yourself are in a spiral of torment from how banal it all is," said Alfre, playing the most dangerous game of assumption. The giantess leaned forward as if intrigued. Her eyes bore down on her like headlights.
"Wise considering what you are, misguided. But that would be true of a soul your age. You have piqued my interest, mortal, and you have found the exit to the land of nightmares. Some souls never do,"
said the guardian, who didn't seem as if she was going to tell her exactly what it was that she said or did that was in fact correct.
"Because I found your presence a mild respite from my eternal boredom. I will leave you with this before you go. What we are here is not what we were there. This world and that were never meant to coexist."
The giantess motioned with her slightly monochrome, skinned, clawed, dark hand behind Alfre. Alfre turned, and she suddenly felt a gentle and leeward breeze on her face, and what was once dank and dark dungeon transmuted into a sprawling internal dark sea in an endless ocean. She was on the bow of a wooden ship, the type of galleon that they do not make anymore. Its billowing white sails were fully in bloom. There were 4 men that turned around briskly at Alfre's sudden appearance, each man a picture-perfect representation of what she would consider as seamen of old to look like: ragged, sickly, battle-scarred. "Where the fuck did you come from?" said the dark-skinned man with a bandana wrapped around his head and pants hastily cut into shorts. The man had a harpoon in his hand before she even appeared and pointed it in her direction. "I am Alfre. I'm looking for my sister." 2 of the men turned back to the door they were facing as if she was not worth losing their focus on. The 4th man, who had a tan complexion from a region of the world Alfre wouldn't be comfortable in assuming, said, "Ain't no women on this ship, girl, just the creature." The dark-skinned man picked up the conversation. "We got maybe a week before we can drop anchor at a friendly port, and barely enough crew left to do it. We're making the last push tonight afore she kills the rest of us in our sleeps."